what is one piece of career advice you wish someone told you when you were first starting out in games?
Well, I feel like there are many advices that you would like to have when you start. Probably the main one is that everything that you do uh, in your life as a business is for a purpose, right? So you need to understand that very well, and not just be happy with get the job done. I feel like many people have that drive to get things done, right? But is trying to go one step further and like not just getting it done, but understand how can you do it better. And better could be better in many senses, right? It could be that you execute faster, that it's more polished. I think like these are more obvious to everyone, but I will say that in our case we are creating experiences for players, right? So trying to understand what's the intention that you want to transmit, whether that intention is there, and apply that to every single task that you are doing, right? Like just don't be happy and conformist with okay, I did it, but think like this is the best way I could do it, because that means that then you cannot just focus on execution, but you need to also prepare for that execution. You need to understand, okay, I am the first one doing this, probably not. So what others have done before, what's in our case making games, what's in the market, and how are competitors doing this, how are competitors solving the issue or giving the best experience, what's what I like about what the others have done, and how could I transmit that to what I'm doing. So I would say probably it relates to be more conscious of what's there, what's out there, and not just what's in the market, but who are the target audience that you are making these for, right? Like games in somehow are a way of self-expression, right? The creators are creating an experience to express themselves, but in order to make that experience connect with the player, you need to have all this information in mind and all this intention in mind when you build it. So you need to try to think how to go the extra mile, but not in just like the delivery, but on like how to connect with the end user and make sure that what you are serving to them is what they will really like and enjoy.
I'm reflecting on what you said, because funny enough, I read yesterday a perspective where the person was saying, it was on LinkedIn, don't do anything that your manager wouldn't notice, if that makes sense. Where if you are going above and beyond on a feature, but your manager wouldn't notice, they were arguing for your career, don't spend your precious time doing that. And I'm thinking, I'm agreeing with what you're saying here, but I also see his point where you could be in a situation where you kind of bit time for it and potentially seen, at least to the studios, less effective than potentially what's actually happening. So what do you have to say about that perspective? Like, how do we balance that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it makes total sense, and it's, as you said, connected, right? So but also you need to be sometimes mindful of okay, I have many things I could do. Where is the area that I could apply this, right? Because obviously you cannot apply it everywhere. We don't have infinite time. So if you have to focus on one thing that you would like to do especially differently, so your manager realizes which is that one that you should focus, right? I think that's also probably a good tip. Don't try to be a perfectionist everywhere, because that's something that is going to not be good for you in the long term, unless you have infinite time and you can really do that. So try to think on this, and that's connected to what I was saying before, is if I understand the players, if I understand what they like, if I understand what they already have in other games, then I could think like, how could I do the thing that I have to do in order that I not just impress my manager but impress the players, and I have them like willing to get more, coming back, because eventually the competition is fierce right now in the market. There are many companies trying to get the attention of the same users, and I feel like that when we mention attention instead of any other word that we could use for mentioning the something that we want from the players, then we realize that we are not just competing with games. We are competing with books, we are competing with TV series, we are competing with films, any other means of entertainment. We are competing, right? Because eventually our time to make things, I was saying, is finite, but also the time of the players to consume the things that we are making is finite, right? And as more companies and more studios are making content for entertaining the players need to select, need to prioritize, okay, where I do devote my time. And of course, there will be situations where you are not fully competing because, I don't know, the player wants to just chill and relax, so it's not going to be doing any hobby or any activity that requires action or is going to be tiring, right? Or sometimes like they just want to let the mind go, right? And probably if you are making games that are more casual, you will get the attention there, and not in like for games that are more mid-crease, it will be tougher in that moment. But at the end of the day, there is always like a choice in the player's hand, right? Like they can do multiple things, and that's why you need to pay so much attention into making something that is special, because otherwise they are going to go and consume other stuff, and it could be another game, or it could be a TV series. But for instance, if we focus on a game, right, like why a player that is on level 1000 in this game is going to spend less time there to come to your game, is because you have something new, fresh to offer them. So that's the intent that I was mentioning in the beginning, right? You need to keep always thinking of what's the intention that you want to put into what you do in order to make it relevant.
Connecting the actions you're doing as the developer here, and like the psychology of the player, I think is so important. And I think the word attention is so crucial to understand, where if you're fighting for that attention and they're spending most of the time on a specific feature, maybe we're going to spend more time on this feature, where maybe we should be looking at where the attention already is and try to understand why before we just, like you said earlier, like just getting the job done. I think when you connect that purpose to everything, it makes us better game developers, and I think it makes it more fun as well. So it makes it a bit more challenging, looking for like the community aspect. I really like that point.
Yeah, definitely. I think like it goes beyond just actually just making the game, because now, at least for mobile games, I think like everybody is having the same issue. It is very hard to market them, and this is the very first moment that you're grabbing the attention of the players, right? So you need to have something that just from the very beginning, just like the first point of contact, that is showing an ad to them that grabs their attention. And then once you have the attention, you need to keep that attention, right? And that's how you need to make a good experience to keep the players engaged and coming back. But just from the very beginning, you need to do something that makes them stop scrolling and stop for a second and see what you're offering.
Could you share a pivotal moment in your career where it made a significant impact and the lessons that you learned from it?
Okay, well, I feel like I have several pivotal moments, but in my case, I always mention that I landed in the gaming industry by accident. So, of course, I'm a gamer. I spent many hours when I was a teenager playing games. It started
What
with
did you play?
Pardon?
What did you play?
Well, I would say that I would play everything that landed in my hands. Indeed, I remember when I was younger, convincing my parents that I needed a PC, and the excuse was like, I need it for my studies in order
Of course.
to do some presentations and some stuff and do some research. But what I wanted is a PC for playing. And there I was like, I don't know, playing everything. I just exchanging games with my friends, or like just playing demos, playing everything. Then I got PS1 and 2, and I was playing everything that I could find. From like coming from PC, but the strategy games. I remember now there is the Age of Empires mobile version coming out, and remember me of like the long hours that I put there when I was younger. But to shooters, to football games, Tycoon. I also love this type of games. So everything, and then I also on mobile I played like a wide range of games. I think like in my case I've been specializing myself in casual, but I played everything. So
It's like your career started way before you thought it did, because it sounds like you're doing so much market research. That's what
exactly.
That's what I tell myself. Like the 10,000 hours on RuneScape was all market research. That's how I excuse myself.
Exactly. You can sell it like that. Yeah, and it's true. I think that's probably something that has been like useful for me through the whole my career, right? Because and indeed I was just having an interview now, and I was telling this is it was for an intern position, and I was telling him like the best way, and connected to the first question, that you can do the best is to really understand the end user. And the best way to understand the end user is not by doing interviews or asking them questions, is to be an end user yourself. That's how you can really like understand, this is not a good experience, this is enjoyable, things like that. And I think in my case, as I've been playing for so long hours, so many games, just because I was having fun, but also with a little bit of curiosity, I position myself as an end user, and that's how I learned so much about what's enjoyable, what's different, what's fresh, what keep you coming back. And that's what you maybe subconsciously apply every day after that. So coming back to your question, I landed accidentally, because I always play long hours, and when I was a kid I was dreaming, when I'm older I want to make games, but I never thought that was really a possibility or like a practical possibility. And I focused my studies into studying engineering, and then like wanted to stay in the university and do research. But the situation here in Spain is not like I would say very very good for working on research at the university. And then when I finished my PhD, I thought, okay, well then I think it's time to move on and change plans. And during that time I had done a lot of data science and all that, and nowadays is a fuzzy word. Before that was so popular. So I reflected and said, okay, I really enjoyed doing this, I want to keep doing that, let's try to find a position for that. And I just looked for that, like data scientist, and didn't like focus on any industry nor have a preference. And the only company that was offering that in Spain was King, that just recently opened a studio in Barcelona. I'm from Madrid, so I was living in Madrid, and then we said, well, it's the only opening, so let's apply. I didn't even research about the company, nor didn't know about what they were doing. This is before they released Candy Crush, so they weren't so
before. Wow.
Yeah.
So we were going way back.
Yeah, way back. But that was like the pivotal moment that transitioned my career from doing research at the university, or probably having gone to a telco, because that's what I studied, to enter the gaming industry. And indeed being lucky to enter such a great company where I could learn a lot. I was surrounded by very, very intelligent people that made every day stimulating and eventually inspired me to to say, oh, okay, it's not just like that is a fun business. It's also something that we are doing very interesting things, and I could feel myself also realize. And indeed, for me, that was probably one of the I would say hardest decisions, because I was doing research. Well, everything was very academic, and like you feel that you are, I would say, making good to the world, because you are researching, finding new stuff that then is going to be applied and make the work better. And then transitioning to making games didn't feel that you were having the same. That is such a big purpose, right? And it seemed that I was trading off on that, but then finding also so great talent, it was very stimulating, because we were innovating on a daily basis, trying to do things better, new, and also probably because I was started as a data scientist. So basically I was analyzing the data that we were tracking from our games, and trying to understand the player experience, what they like it, what they're not, from using data. I eventually realized that we were doing many good things for a lot of people, right? It's nowadays I think it's even more important to have a way of escape from your daily problems and relax and chill and like take it easy, because otherwise I think like we all will be crazy just if we don't have this escapism moments. So it helped me to not feel so guilty from having traded the academic research career for the game making career.
Yeah, you found that purpose in the new role, and I wanted to touch on, because that's a crazy journey. You've gone from doing a PhD in data and then to, I'm guessing, a more entry-level data analyst role at King, but now you're the head of a studio, or your own studio in Barcelona as well. So there's a lot that's happened since then. I appreciate we're not going to get into the nitty-gritty but of every single position change, but that's a big change of what you were originally doing when you first started. So how have you ended up here? That's my question. So like, how have you ended up here? And what if someone is looking at you and thinking, I want to have a career as interesting as that. I want to go and be eventually, run my own studio, but I'm not going to start with running my own studio. So why do you think you've ended up here than other people haven't, for example?
Okay, I feel like in this case, I could tell you, I always had this plan. No, that would be bullshit, because to be honest, I never thought about it. And when I entered the gaming industry, I didn't even know like how it was structured. So I was like, I think King was one of the first companies to really bet on data and like put a data scientist embedded into the game team. So you could be the point of contact that give you all the information about the players, and I could make sure that all the information that you need to be tracked is properly tracked, and then you can generate the reports beyond just saying like how many time they played and how many active users or how much money we are making, but like really understanding deeply the players. And thanks to that, I learned a lot about how this works, and like eventually what's useful, what's needed, and like how you could keep progressing in your career. But when I joined King, I joined it with the idea of like, okay, well, it will be a temporary job. I'm moving away from my hometown. I will be there for some time until I find something. I go back, but then I realized that I really loved the industry and I wanted to keep there. But just like as I entered without a plan, I didn't build a plan when I realized of this. So I just was happy to keep being a data scientist. But in my case, I started to specialize in monetization, because this is something that I always loved. I think like probably I always have a business in mind in everything that I do. But also I love very much reading about behavioral economics and all this ecology of money. So I started to apply all these learnings into some ideas that to do tests related to monetization. And I think that probably made me evolve to a product manager, where I was showing that I was proposing and making good decisions for the product in order to perform better, but probably also because I was applying all my learnings as a gamer from before, putting all together. So that made me make that transition. And then I was a product manager for the Babel Witch franchise at King. So, and in my case, it was also quite useful, because I started working on Babel Witch 2 when it was already live, and understanding what was working, what wasn't, and then be able to apply all this on a new game from the beginning, Babel Witch 3. So I think it helped us to do things better and learn from the past mistakes. And then, as I was being more involved as a product manager, I think I probably also, given the structure at King, product manager work close to the product, but not close enough, I would say, in the sense that they could influence the decisions of the product, but they weren't owning the product. And I felt that that created in me some frustrations, because I thought that this was the best decision, but we weren't executing, or we were delaying it. And I saw that the way for me to really be on top of that and be able to prioritize and have more input into that prioritization was to get closer to the product. So then I transitioned to be a producer, dealing, working day to day with execution of the game idea, not just the ideation, but the long-term plan, but also the details that we were mentioning in the beginning, right? Like making sure that those details were really the right ones, and that we put the right amount of effort in the things that are more impactful, and lower amount of effort in the things that are less impactful. And then after many years at King, I thought it was my time to move on. King is a great company, but I thought that I needed to see what other ways of doing things, keep learning, because that's probably because of my nature, being a researcher in the past, like always wanted to keep learning new things. So I decided to move on, and I moved on to work as head of new games at Septolab, where I learned a lot from the very first day. Logically, because the companies are so different, right? And King had been focused mainly on a type of games, and have a very large game, probably the biggest ever. Septolab was tried many things, very innovative things, and like there weren't two games equal. So every time that you make a new game, you needed to do a lot of research and learn on the go. And that helped me a lot, and I was really happy to have made that decision. And then finally I landed here in FunPlus, so a little more than 2 years ago, because I was really motivated by the vision that they had, they are a leader in 4X strategy games, in mid-core games, but they wanted to also be a leader in casual, and that's really ambitious. Almost no company has managed to do that in mobile, and that was really something that motivated me to join this journey. And it's been quite a intense time here, because when you take this challenge of making a studio the same as before, as being the producer or whatever new role, you always imagine, okay, I want to do this, and this is the position that is going to enable to do more of that. But then when you're head of a studio, you do everything but that thing. So you need to focus on like being an enabler for the team to really do the fun stuff, right? And like take away from them all the distractions, or prevent them from like not being efficient and all that stuff. And that means that you need to do a lot of stuff that is not fun, and probably nobody realizes that that's such a big burden you are imagining yourself in that type of role. So you think that you are going to be doing more creative work and really just having fun all the time, but then that's like just a tiny proportion, unfortunately. But now things are more on track, and we are getting back to have more fun moments.
I think there's so many lessons here because you kind of said it offhand, like, yes, I then moved on to be a producer, to be more closer to the product. But when I'm looking through your LinkedIn here, I've had it on the side, like you were so proactive from what I'm hearing from you when you had the data scientist like role where you were bringing in the psychology of money. I doubt someone said, hey, Felipe, can you go research that and then put it in? It sounds like you did that on your own. And then when I'm looking at like the promotions and then the moving, it feels almost natural. It wasn't like you said you had the plan, but because you were always coming in with the solutions, then it naturally came to this point. But I feel like everyone can engineer that, right? Like I've seen the journey of QA to producer many times. And I feel like the reason that works is because you get that you've gone wide very early. You have an understanding why things may not work, why things break. And you had that, I feel, from the thousands of hours in games, plus data scientists. You've now got that awesome base to then move quite quickly. And I think people can engineer that. And like you can copy aspects of that on your own. And I think there's a big part of just raising your hand and trying to add value as much as possible, because then you just accelerate your career massively.
Yeah, definitely. I think this connects to my first point. This is something that I always been applied. So how can I do this better than nobody else had done it before, right? I hate when you get to a company and they tell you, no, we do this because we've always done this way. And it's like, okay, but...
It's just like, should we now? It's like, no.
Yeah, exactly. We can do better. So I always love to get myself out of the comfort zone. And I feel like probably this is a skill and it's not an easy skill to acquire. It's probably something that I have ingrained in myself. So that always was there, and I was intrigued by learning something new, and I thought always that, okay, if I know to do this and I learn something new, probably I know how to do this better, because there is always connections. I think the magic is when you can have multiple hats and apply the learnings from here and there and combine them. That's one aspect. I think the other aspect was really great advice that I got in my early days at Keen, where I was told that most of the promotions are done because you're already doing that role efficiently before you get the promotion. So it's very strange that could happen. Like normally this is because somebody left and somebody needs to fill that position, or because there is a change in strategy and there is a shift of roles. But more often than ever is like, okay, this guy is already making that new role, or like he's really making the role even better than other people that are already doing it. So let's get him promoted and give him more ownership to keep doing that, and maybe like more accountability of what he's doing, right? So I feel that that's been like, for me, without having a strategy of I want to be this in the future, it was okay. I learned to do more things. I like that. I start doing more, going out of my like the specs of my role, because I take other responsibilities, and then eventually the recognition has come through that. So I think like this is, I think there are people that will be happy like doing the same role and like keeping there. To be honest, I think like I would have been happy just doing data scientist for all my career, right? But if you have that drive from growing in a different or expanding, I think that's probably the best thing to do. Is not try to wait till somebody points you and says, well, you are not going to do this, but instead of that, start doing that, start helping there, right? And then eventually you will be doing it, and somebody will say, okay, well, if you're already doing it, like keep it doing, right? So I think that's probably the best way to grow, is to start taking more stuff on your plate and executing it well.
it's then the promotion becomes not a gift to you, it's like a gift to the studio, because they want to promote you because they're going to get more out of the experience. It's like, it's even more than a win-win when that's the case. But
Exactly.
I speak to some Unity developers, which is who I used to like recruit for, especially, and I had a couple of them where they really wanted to move into a lead position, and they were doing kind of management courses and stuff. And I gave this advice recently, and I'm glad you mentioned it as well, is where it's very unlikely you're going to apply for a management role when you have no management experience. The kind of path is most likely you're going to feel that need in a studio already, unofficially, and then get recognized or promoted, or there's an internal vacancy and you apply for it. I think it's a very big ask to hire someone with no management experience to come and manage a new team. But if you've been in the team already and you want to move into a management role, you're going to have to start in that team without management experience most likely at the start. And then, like you said, a cap will be there, or you just raise your hand and just do management type things and just be super nice. Recognition will come, like you said.
Afterwards, yeah, definitely. Yeah, I think there are two good points here. So one is that for the company, it's much better, right? Because as you said, like I want to avoid risk as a manager, so I want to try to make the decisions that don't will put on risk the business, right? So if I see somebody that is already proven that can do that role, I will be more relaxed, like giving that ownership and responsibility to that person than trying to find another person that could do it. And I think, like, especially in management, you were saying it, I would say, like, not everybody is suitable for managing for many reasons, and like that's not bad. But sometimes people get frustrated because they feel that moving to a managing position is the only career path possible. I think that companies are doing much better generally now, where they have the managing path and the expert path, and then the expert can keep being an expert and can keep growing without having to enter in a managing position. There are people that are great managing, but it drains so much energy from them that eventually they burn out and they need to quit, right? So it's this, like when I was saying, like, not everybody's suitable for managing, it's not like they are unable to manage, it's that probably they are not feeling energized by that, and then they suffer, right? So I think that this is one aspect that is great for the business, it's great for the people that are on top of you, to make better decisions for the business and feel that they are risking less in this area. But also I think it's very good for you as an individual, because one of the main issues that you have when you jump into another role is the imposter syndrome. So you start to, so naturally it's like, okay, I'm doing this role, and I feel like this is called the Peter's principle, is that, okay, everybody gets promoted to the role where they are not performing, right? Because the thing is that if you're a good performer in your role, you are going to be promoted, and that's going to continue to happen until you get to a role where you are not performing, and then you get stuck there, right? Like that's for how it works is like that, right? And what happens? So you are doing your role and you are executing it very well, and that's what gets recognized with a promotion, right? And then you move from being in control of everything, like having everything perfectly done and like having no doubts about anything, to start doing something new, where like probably like many times there are many areas that you haven't done and you are not sure how to do it, or probably before you were contributing but guided by somebody else or didn't have the responsibility. And then when you start doing that and having all that new responsibility, the doubts appear and you start saying, oh, probably I'm not good enough for this, I'm going to fail, and this is most of the time is this imposter syndrome that is making you feel that you are imposter in that role and you shouldn't have been promoted and all that. So when you advance in your career in this way, by start doing, then getting the official assignment of that new task, then the imposter syndrome is much smaller, right? Because by the time that you are promoted, you have already proven. So you don't need to start your role proving that, oh, I can do this. It's like not even to yourself, to nobody else, because you have already done it. So I think that this also has a very good benefit for the individuals themselves that promote this way, is that, okay, I don't need to prove anything to anybody. I have already been doing this. I can be confident on myself. I can do it. I will keep doing it this way, and things will go well.
I agree. And the extra benefit of that is I feel like you could be in charge of the new job description in a sense, because you could potentially be really good at some parts, but not amazing at others. But if you've been doing some of that already, it sounds like it would be more of a conversation rather than here's your new set of responsibilities. You can hopefully build your career path that way.
Yeah, I think this is called job crafting, right? Like where
okay, there's a thing for it. Nice.
You eventually craft your role by starting doing things that are outside of the original job description.
When it comes to challenges, especially in the game industry, I feel like it's inevitable. How do you overcome challenges in your professional life? Like, do you have a go-to strategy for overcoming them? How do you come across challenges?
I feel like every challenge deserves probably a different strategy, could be, right? So it's very hard to generalize. That's what I want to say. But if I had to generalize, probably I would say every time try to focus and face challenges with positivity, because when you don't focus on positivity, then you start thinking like, okay, this is unsolvable, or this problem is so big. You start getting nervous. Then your brain is not thinking on how to solve it. It's more thinking on escaping. This is like a natural situation of our reptile brain. So when there is the feeling of danger, then your mind wants to fly. So I think like that for me is one of the first things is take a step back, think positively. There is always a solution for everything, maybe but death. So think more with tranquility, with relaxation, like, okay, where's the issue, how you can solve it, because also if not, you can this has happened to me, right? So you can get maybe too emotional, and maybe something that was a small thing, I don't know, a discussion between two members of the team, you get like maybe too involved, and then you, instead of solving it, you maximize it or things like that. So it's always like try to take a step back, and your brain will find the solution more easily, because you are letting the brain focus on the problem and not on the feelings. So probably that's one of my and it's hard for me because I'm also, I would say, Latin, right? So fashion, exactly. So it's hard for me sometimes to take that step back. Probably it's easier when the problem is about tech, because the tech doesn't.
You have to step back. Like it doesn't care about your emotions.
Exactly. There are not so much feelings involved. But generally, I think that's very important, right? To when you face a problem, think that there is a solution, right? And I think also this is something that is very good, because when you tell your brain there is a solution, then your brain is going to find it, right? If you start telling your brain there is no solution, your brain will give up. So I think that this is very important to tell your brain there is a solution, let's find it, and then you start like thinking, okay, how is the way to find it? It's like gathering the people together, is thinking alone, is chilling for a while, so I can start the problem fresh, right? And for instance, this is something that I learned probably because I love math, and I also study math, and one of my teacher in the school told me, okay, don't get so frustrated. Today you are not solving the problem. Start again fresh tomorrow. And many times when I was doing this, I was finding the solution the day after, and I started to feel that, okay, this is not just applicable to the math problems of the the school book is applicable to any problems that you could have, right? So I think like it helps you to take it more easy, to don't. I think also it's important for the mental health, right? To don't take the problems with you all the time, right? Like let the problems stay away from you from some time. Otherwise, you start to sleep more poorly, and then your quality of life get reduced. You get stressed, and this is a vicious cycle that ends up not well. So it's better to leave the problems at the office if they are related to the office, to leave the problems at home if they are related to home. Don't mix everything, because I think nowadays, even more importantly, now that we tend to work more hours from home because there are more remote positions or hybrid positions, it's better to keep them separated, have the time to disconnect, because otherwise we could get mad.
I agree, and I've had that in my life as well. Like I can't figure out how to write this post, and then I go to bed and wake up, and it's just instant. Like I go and it's like brr, and it's like there without even trying. So trying to solve everything now, in ruining your sleep because of it. Yeah, it's like the worst loan ever.
Yeah, indeed. There is like your brain can keep working subconsciously to try to find the solution, right? And this is something probably that we don't understand very well how it works, but it eventually and effectively works like that. So I think it's good that you tell your brain that you want to solve this, and if you don't find the solution at that moment, let the brain work subconsciously, and then I think that's partially why you get that much easier the next day, is because you are more rested, for sure, but also because the brain has been working on your behalf.
Like magic. It's like I know it happens, and I can't explain it. I'm sure if I Google it, I'll see something.
Yeah.
But even if I read it, I'll be like, I still have. I don't know. But the fact that it happens across disciplines, I think we need to make sure we take advantage of it.
Yeah, indeed. I have an anecdote on this. So I don't know if you know Salvador Dali. It was a very famous artist here in Spain.
Of course.
And he believed so much into the subconscious mind solving issues for him and inspiring him, that he took a special type of naps where the very first moments when you fall asleep is where your subconscious mind is starting to take over and work. So he take the naps in a chair with something metal in his hand. So when he started to fall asleep, then this metal thingy will fall to the floor, and he will wake up, but he will remember everything that started to happen in his subconscious mind, and then the result of that is amazing. So